pre-meeting protocol. There's nobody online, so we're going to go straight into it. Could I ask Democratic Services to bring you recorded, Matt? Yeah, okay. Pnawn da, croeso i'r cyfarfod. Diolch am bawb am dod. Hello and welcome to the Merthyr Tydfil County Borough Council's Regeneration, Housing and Public Protection Scrutiny meeting on Tuesday, the 14th of November 2023. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and may be recorded and broadcast by the authority's internet site. The images and sound recording may also be used for training purposes. Agenda item 1, apologies for absence. I've had apologies from Councillor Scott Thomas and Co-op Howard Jackson. Item agenda 2, declarations of interest. No, none. Moving on to agenda item 3, long-term plans for towns. You presenting?
Yes.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, thank you, Chair. This is timely because obviously I haven't yet taken a paper to full council, explained the announcement and the progress so far around the long-term plans for towns, which was an initiative that was announced in the Conservative Party conference some weeks ago. It was a bit of a shock. There was no prior discussions, consultation, both internally in the UK government and certainly not with the Welsh government. It was interesting how how the communication came out. A day after the conference, a letter was sent to each of the leaders in each of the local authorities areas where a programme had been announced on a Sunday morning. So on the Sunday morning, the leader, Councillor Geraint Thomas, had this letter by email from Michael Gove. So he naturally thought it was some sort of spoof, but no, it wasn't. So the programme has come out of the Levelling Up agenda and is part of that wider Levelling Up programme and Levelling Up funding. Obviously, Ian and Joe are part of our central team who are delivering the finance and the programme monitoring on all the Levelling Up funds. So that's why they're here today, in case you want to stray into any of the other elements of the programme as well, which might naturally spin off from this. So the programme long-term plan for towns, 55 towns within the country. So that's Scotland, England, Wales and Northern Ireland, was selected to have this long-term plan for town status. So the programme is a long-term programme. It's over 10 years and it's going to be based on an investment type funding model, but there's no detail of that yet. And each of the programmes is going to have an investment of £2 million per year for 10 years. So each area will get £20 million with a commitment over the 10-year period. There's no further detail at this point in time of the fund or the structure of the fund. Do you get £20 million in one go to invest with a ceiling of £2 million per year? It's unknown. So until we get the detailed guidance, that's all we've got in regard to the structure of the programme. In Wales, there were four towns that had this status. There's the town centre area of Merthyr Tydfil, obviously, Cwmbran in Torfaen, Barry in the Vale of Glamorgan, and the town centre of Wrexham in the county borough of Wrexham. Now, basically, the programme is based on quite a standard partnership model. So each of the town areas has to set up the outline of a partnership, a town partnership by April next year. It's quite a standard format whereby all the normal representation, multi-agency, multi-partnership representation that you'd expect needs to be part of the partnership. So the voluntary sector, the private sector, the faith community, sports groups, voluntary organisation, public sector partners. The guidance is so far is quite clear. If there are existing structures, then that can be used as the basis of a partnership rather than duplicating or getting rid of something and starting again. Now, in the town centre in Merthyr Tydfil, we've had quite a strong town centre partnership, which has been in place since 2010. I think it was put in place, and basically has run throughout the regeneration programs over the last years. We'll probably come back to the partnership in discussion and questioning. One thing that we really don't know at the moment, because the limited guidance we've got is quite quite vague. Now, in England, the guidance so far is quite clear that the local authorities will actually have the administrative and secretariat duties of the partnership. But when it comes to Scotland and Wales, there's a bit of a vaguity. So what it actually says is Scotland and Wales, we are minded to use the financial assistance powers under Section 50 of the UKIM Act to fund towns directly while working with the Scottish and Welsh governments to determine the most appropriate delivery structures. So whereas originally I read the guidance as the local authority would fulfil that role, there is some ambiguity in that bit when it comes to the devolved administration. So again, it might be straightforward, and it might be the wording of what's come out, because what's come out so far has come out in probably 3 chunks, and the report you have in front of you I basically is a briefing on all the information from a couple of sources to date. So the focus of the programme in each of the town partnership, there are going to be 3 investment themes, as you can see in the report. There's safety and security, high streets, heritage and regeneration, and transport and connectivity. And as you can see in the narrative of the report, it's just a very limited description of eligibility at the moment. You'll also note that the UK government are going to set up a task force, and the task force will report directly to the Prime Minister and the Levelling Up Secretary, and the task force will be there to support and champion collectively the programmes throughout the UK, but also to support individual programmes, especially around additional investment outside this particular funding. There will be monies made available at the start of the programme for capacity funding to actually set up the partnership, to help put the various structures in place, to provide training and support. But again, the actual detail is quite minimum. There's a description in the narrative of what the town boards will be responsible, and also some limited advice on the workings of the board. And it's very specific that the board should be chaired by a business person or a local community leader, which again is quite standard. One of the only stipulations in the membership of the partnerships is that the local MP has to be included as a member. But probably from a devolved administration perspective, we'd also want our MS involved, together with the relevant regeneration official from Welsh Government, because our town centre programme, our regeneration programme, our partnership structures are really well advanced, and obviously the amount of support we've had off Welsh Government and continue to have is very extensive. We have a placemaking plan already in place through the Welsh Government. So what we don't want to do is duplicate. We want to dovetail the opportunities with this particular programme to complement what is already there, and to complement and dovetail with the investment that comes through Welsh Government. So that's basically where we are, Chair. This contains all the information on the programme that we have so far. It is quite limited. We're waiting for the task force to be established, and we're waiting for further guidance. We are expecting it before Christmas, but in all the stuff that's come out through levelling up through the UK government, they've been a bit hit or miss on timescales. Okay.
Thanks, Alan. Like to open up to questions. Councillor Williams-Price.
Thank you. Is this funding dependent on the current UK government still being in government by summer 2024?
We don't really know. It's all according how they structure with the Treasury the actual funding. But obviously, if there is a change of administration, then it might be it might not be there. They might pull it. So a bit of an unknown, really. And we have tried to sort of ask that question with officials in UK government, but they didn't want to go there.
So connected to that, obviously this funding was announced on 1st of October, and this report was written on the 6th of November. And in practice, and with that uncertainty, how much officer time has been spent on this plan so far?
Just me writing this report. Because the thing is, it with the existing town centre placemaking plan we've got, with the existing town centre partnership, with the addition of shared prosperity funding, which is now being invested in the town centre, it's all the work has been done really. It's just the specifics of whatever the programme is. If the programme comes or doesn't come, then our regeneration process will continue as is. But obviously, if this came, it would an extra £2 million would help.
Definitely. So to follow on from that, one of my additional questions was going to be, in terms of the 3 priority areas they set out, how well do you feel these themes fit with current priorities set by other funding sources?
Yeah, it's a natural fit. The Welsh Government placemaking plans, our town centre priorities, from safety to regeneration to bringing back empty buildings, etc. It's been a priority for quite some time. Transport obviously is a huge priority, and getting more of a priority, so it does fit in.
And can I confirm, in terms of the way funding can be allocated, do we have clarification at this point of whether it is limited to a town centre as we define those boundaries?
It is, yes, because that was one of the first bits of clarification I needed, because obviously Merthyr has a town centre and is a county borough, same as Wrexham. So again, it was pretty ambiguous, but yeah, they clarified that within the first week. It's quite divisive, really, isn't it? Because obviously there's the rest of the county borough. I'm not saying that parts of the country haven't got huge problems in some of the smaller towns, but in a small area like Merthyr, to concentrate all this money in a red line boundary around the town centre, you know, is quite divisive.
I understand that. So with that in mind, if this funding is made available, is there opportunities within other funding sources that would have been allocated to the town centre to distribute that across the county borough?
Not the Welsh Government funding, because obviously they have a policy of town centre first, and that's quite rigidly applied from a regeneration perspective through their investment circles, possibly through SPF. But obviously the only problem with SPF is only got 1 year to run after April next year. So myself and Ian were talking about this earlier. We could probably do it to a limited extent, but only for a year.
And then a specific question around the town board and the chair of any such board. Do you have any additional information on what the appointment process would be for a position such as this?
No, none. The only information that we have is the thoughts of UK government about the type and scope of membership that it needs to have. They don't want anyone from the public sector to actually chair it. It has to be a community, whatever that means, representative or business person. The town centre partnership, as it stands, has a process of election of chair. The current chair is Mr. Paul Gray, the chief executive of Tidwell Training. So until we get the guidance, it's bit up in the air.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Anna. Councillor Clive Jones.
Thank you, Chair. From everything that Alan's explained, I think it's an understatement of the century that everything's up in the air. It's a bit airy-fairy to make an announcement, then 5 weeks later, leave everybody hanging. And obviously, some of the questions I've got here, it's going to be impossible, I would say, for you to answer, but I'll still ask them all the same. In the document you've had from them, who's going to evaluate and who's going to carry out monitoring of the town board and how they're operating? Particularly when you've got two governments involved, Welsh government and UK government. And from something you said, Alan, it didn't seem to me that the who's going to get the money doesn't seem, from what you've said, unless I've misheard, that the money will be coming into the local authority per year to be going out then to the town board, or is it going straight to the town board or some other organisation?
Well, that's the ambiguity when it comes to the devolved administrations. That sentence I read out, it is quite ambiguous. Perhaps it's just the way it's written, I don't know, but it does put it up in the air a bit. So we automatically assumed that it comes from the local authority, which is exactly how SPF works, albeit it goes regional then local. Yeah. What was the first part of your statement then? Sorry, Clive.
I can't remember. Yes, quite well. Good memory.
Yeah, well done.
Monitoring and evaluation. Yeah.
That's going to be directly through our regional levelling up team. So there's the way that the levelling up programme is administered through central government is we have a regional team which covers South East Wales, the 10 local authorities, and we deal directly with that team. So all the monitoring and evaluation, although obviously it's different with SPF, it goes into a regional lens and then to UK government. It's going to be that team, and obviously there'll be a role in this for monitoring, evaluation and feedback from this task force that they're going to set up. But again, there's no details on what that task force is going to look like. They've appointed a specific director within the department now who's going to have national responsibility for this program. We haven't met the lady, but she did send out the communication to the leads going back about 3 weeks ago, just to say that she was there.
But Chair, from what Alan just said, we're still talking about the UK task force, which is mentioned here, and obviously in a document, and this regional partnership board. So it seems to me that there's a bit of higgledy-piggledy. It doesn't seem to be any clear thinking for this. Somebody's come up with this idea. They thought this will be a good political point. We'll do this, and then you've left with a document that doesn't go down to the fine detail, and everybody's asking questions.
That is correct, and one of the things which is quite obvious is that they purposely bypassed the devolved administrations.
Yeah, well, that certainly doesn't help, does it?
No,
at all. And when it says here on page 7, under 4.2, last sentence, once the board structure in place, capacity funding will be made available from spring 2024 for boards to build on their vision and priorities to write their town plan. Now, for me, spring starts before the 1st of April, but I take it that nobody's going to get any money probably until first week in April. But until you get more details, you don't know how to set up this board.
that's correct.
It is, frankly, it's a bit crazy. And coming to the board, the first question when I got to hear about this immediately was, what's going to be the boundary? Where's it going to go? Where exactly is the boundary? Because that is important as to what determines the town area, because the town area could be right in the centre of the town, but the bits surrounding it as well.
Yeah, we do have a predefined town centre, which was agreed with Welsh Government as part of our placemaking plan and our master plan. So I can share that with members. That's not a problem, and it's a very liberal town centre boundary. It includes as much of the peripheral area as we could.
I think I've seen that from vague memory. There's that the one that goes up Pont Wallace and up to the old General Hospital, come back down again on the one side.
Yeah, and it goes over the other side as well.
Right. But is the boundary for determination, because it didn't mention under the aspect of the boards, they seem to think the local authorities should be way down there. You perhaps might be a minor partner. So would the board itself determine what the boundaries are, or they could change it?
I suppose they could change it, but until we see the actual guidance about the roles, the responsibilities and the jurisdiction of the board, then it's difficult to say. But normally, you can change anything, but it's got to be cognizant of the essence of the program, I suppose. You know, you couldn't include PACT, even though Councillor Salmon is sitting next to me.
Yeah, I know. And coming to the board, the details of page 9, it seems Uncle Tom Cobley and all could be on this. Community partners, well, there's a plethora of those. Community groups, similarly. Faith groups, there's a number of those. Local charities, there's a number of those. The neighbourhood forum, whatever that is. And they do mention the local council. No, I'm wrong. I come to that. The local council for voluntary service, so that would be VAT in our case, which is fair enough. Then it requires somebody from local businesses, doesn't say how many. and social enterprise. That could be a dozen of them. And it does mention the chair or board members of the Business Improvement District, local employers or investors in the town. And then you talk about the local MP, relevant local authorities, parish or town council. Well, that wouldn't happen in our case because we have got a parish or town council covering it. So until somebody completely clarifies exactly what the number and the specific seats are on the board, I don't see how this is going to happen until that decision is made, by the sound of it, at a UK level. Because it seems to me you can either have 10 or here or 30. So it's until you get more details, until Alan gets more details, Chair, there's a number of things on here that we can't clarify now until you get more guidance. And when do you expect the more guidance to be received?
I'd like to think this side of Christmas, because if we have to set up a partnership by April, then there's not much time from Christmas to April to actually do that. The whole thing is very English, so even down to a lot of the terminology, and especially in the northern parts of England, the relationship with central government and local government, as you know, it's very strained and very poor. So, I don't think the partnership work in the localities in England is as advanced as it is in Wales, because I mean the Welsh government have majored in on that for years now and wrapped funding structures around it. So I think a lot of this is aimed at English towns where there's been no development. So it looks like it's a bit of a catch for all, whereas perhaps we're more experienced and sophisticated in our understanding of partnerships and our interaction with partnerships.
So going back to the points I made about the board and the makeup, is that one of the questions that you in this authority are asking them? Well, exactly what do you mean? Because the world's your oyster. Yeah, it's a mishmash.
Yeah, we've had we've got a very good working relation, myself, Ian, and Joe, with the with our UK government team, but this is coming out of the policy department of the Department for Levelling Up. So the civil service who are on the operational side, they can't answer these questions at the moment either.
I just absolutely astounded, to be honest with you. I got no more questions at this stage.
What I will say, even though it's limited, we thought it was important that Scrutiny. We've done a briefing which was the basis of this report. So it's important that Scrutiny receives it first. I'll be sending a briefing paper out to all councillors before I actually take it to council. So I agree with you about the lack of detail. That's why I haven't done a report already.
Yeah. So you don't know when the detail is going to be given. I presume you can't put a report to council on this basis until you've got a lot more detail.
Yeah. I've had to report it somewhere because it's such a big program. So obviously Scrutiny was the first port to call, and rather than doing a report, either this week or next week, I'll send a briefing paper out to all councillors.
Okay, I think that will be welcomed by members. Members of the public are asking questions. I said, all I know is £20 million, £2 million a year, and that's it.
Okay, thanks, Clive. Before I call Councillor Salmon in, I going off on Councillor Williams-Price and Councillor Jones said, I guess where you said as well, the CRF and SPF have all been delayed quite severely, haven't they? So you getting this information before Christmas, I'm not too sure you'll get that. Councillor Salmon?
Thank you, Chair. Alan, just two questions. From my reading of the report, there's a stipulation that it's run by a business person or local community leader, which is not a councillor, and then local authorities to bring local partners together to form town boards. From my reading of it, I don't know if you can answer this, but it doesn't really look as if the local authority will have much input into where the money is spent. Is that right?
It looks that way, yeah, because again, this is through an English lens, because this current UK administration doesn't have a good relationship with local government. Reading between the lines, it's giving the administrative burden, especially in England, to local authorities, but giving taking the decision-making process outside the local authority. So yeah, that's the way I'm reading it.
Okay. And just one other question. When is the first tranche of money due?
September next year.
Okay. Lovely. Thank you, Alan. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Councillor Salmon. Any other questions?
This could be my mastermind subject.
Questions? Yeah. Councillor Williams-Rice.
Thanks. So just to get more details in terms of what's gone before, can you just clarify what the specific delay in terms of months was between the SPF when it was expected and coming? Because I know not just within this local authority, but across the UK, obviously councils have failed to spend in the first year due to delays coming from UK government. So what was the actual delay as we understood it?
Don't really know. We weren't ever informed of any specific technical or legal reason for the delay, but obviously we lost the first year, so the delay was well over a year. It started off with the way that the award process happened, so that was delayed, and everything knocked on then. Councillor Davis was involved with his organisation in the Community Renewal Fund, which was the precursor of SPF, and that experienced the same delays. It was probably due to the fact that the UK central government dealing directly with all these local authorities. That's a massive job, and the infrastructure that they've had to put in place to actually enable them to deliver that and to construct a new program from start, they probably totally underestimated.
Thanks. So if it was over a year for SPF, and obviously we're in November now with the first tranche of money expected in September, do you think it's realistic that any money will be received before there's a change of government, bearing in mind we have to have a general election at some point?
I hope so, because as poor as the information is that we've got, we wouldn't want to turn away the opportunity for any money for Merthyr Tydfil. So we really do hope that they just hang on enough to give us the first 2 million or the 20 million if it's going to be in one lump sum.
Yeah, in that process of CRF to start with, it was quite frustrating. I think the applications went in June 2021, and we were supposed to know by the end of, well, I think July, and got told the second week of November, I think. So that put a knock on, and then obviously the next year, then the SPF was due to start when CRF was running, and then it's a bit frustrating. But like Alan said, I think the money be well received. Councillor Jones.
Yeah, my other question was on the fact that we've been told the money, if it comes, will be September. So we're talking, in the first instance, it'll be part of a financial year if it's being given per year. And one of the questions you probably can't answer, Alan, is that if the 2 million hasn't been spent, let's say the first full year, is there something in the detail that you can roll it over to the next financial year?
Again, I can only go by what I'm interpreting from the from the words on the paper. I'm assuming if it's going to be an investment type fund, then it would be, because it would suggest that the whole investment is £20 million, with the caveat that it's £2 million a year. But again, until if I had a tiny bit more detail, I could answer your questions. I do apologise.
One other point: there are three other towns, three other local authorities with towns. Have you had any discussions with the other three? Because they must be asking a lot of the same questions you're asking this afternoon.
Yeah, I've spoken to the Vale and Torvine, but I haven't spoken to Wrexham because it's too dissimilar.
And what were their immediate questions that they needed to know or clarify?
Well, the same as us, really. Obviously, with Barry, their big question was the boundary. Cumbrawn's a little bit easier, but Wrexham will have the same problems as well.
It'd be like the Archers, wait for the events every week, by the sound of it. I mean, it's not a way to treat a very serious subject. I mean, we're all going to welcome extra money, but when they send it out in this format, it doesn't fill you with, boundless confidence.
No, and in answering your question earlier, that's why other than alerting the town centre partnership, I gave partnership a verbal briefing so that they knew of its existence.
Yeah.
But other than that, I've just dealt with it myself. I haven't done anything with it. Just try to understand what's in front of us.
Yeah. But there will be one last one. If this comes off, I presume it will require officer involvement with this board. So there'll be a commitment, then, I presume, from officer time from within the local authority.
Yeah. If there's a way of accelerating our existing placemaking plan, then that'd be brilliant, because it'll be seamless. Because I talk regularly to Welsh Government officials about it, just to make sure that we're keeping them as up to speed as the information we got, so that we're bridging that gap between UK Government bypassing them and us actually, delivering our local programme.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Aled. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Clive.
Anybody else? Nope.
I got a couple. You have to bear with me a sec. I got notes everywhere. First one off, why Merthyr? Any indication?
The Monday after the announcement, one of the directors used to work in the Wales office, Hugh Bryan, who's a really good bloke actually, met with myself and Ellis, and he did the same with each of the other three areas in Wales. He tried to give me a rambling explanation of how they worked out the relative need based on the old objective, objective 1 and the convergence, and that's 2 and that's 3, which is a big data set, but he wasn't very convincing.
Yes, I just wondered if anybody gave in.
No, but if you look at the political map, it's quite obvious.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. Town centre. We talked about the town centre board earlier. And you mentioned partners. Will they have to be partners based within a town centre? Obviously, if there's like some sports clubs outside the town centre, we haven't got great sporting facilities within the town centre. So how would that be made up?
Well, a town centre boundary takes in Pindarren Park, and it takes in Milburn, the Wern.
Yeah.
So
It does go that far.
there is scope.
Okay, that's good. Okay, there's the 3 investment themes. Do you envisage there being set amounts for each theme?
No.
No? Okay, good. In terms of the I've got some notes, sorry, bear with me. Do you think it'll be planned workshops? It talks about the town centre partnership board quite a bit, but will we as councillors be able to have some workshops and be involved in any decision? Or especially this scrutiny, I would come up with some ideas on how we see that the town centre.
Definitely, but without the guidance is gonna drive the involvement, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
But obviously the council is the biggest stakeholder, isn't it, in the town centre? So there's got to be some sort of process. With all councillors, whether there'll be any relevance if you live in Bedlinog in participating in this, rather than being a councillor in the town or park ward. It is going to be different, and that's where it is slightly divisive.
Yeah, I think following on from I think my colleagues have already mentioned that is it just a town centre? But one of the schemes is around transport, but obviously transport covers Bedlinog and Gurnus and Dowlas and whatever else. So will that be able to be spent outside? Would you envisage that?
I'm assuming so, because if you look at the bus network, all right, a lot of the routes actually are like to terminate from the town centre, but they go all around the county borough, don't they? So it'd have to be.
Yeah, I hope so. Anyway, the only I think my last question in terms of you mentioned about the placemaking. Will this have any effect on that funding coming to us?
No, I've been having those conversations constantly with Welsh Government.
Great. That's it from me. Any comments from anyone?
I'd like to think I did very well speaking for so long without any information.
Smashed it all. Councillor Williams-Price.
Thank you. I really wish I could be optimistic about this, but as you may have noticed, I'm not particularly. It just seems to be the political motivation of it shining through and without any of the detail, and that's what I'm finding really difficult at the moment. And again, please don't take this as a slight on you, Alan. Obviously, it is important that we get kept updated on something like this. But as part of the Forward Work programme, we were anticipating to discuss public transport today and also Hoover's Regeneration. And I'm really disappointed that we didn't have the opportunity to do that today, because I feel that would be a more valuable use of our scrutiny time at this point.
If I can just answer that, it's unfortunate with bus, which is extremely important and extremely sort of sensitive. That whole agenda has taken a different twist over the last few weeks, and everything is being recalculated. So Welsh Government, Transport for Wales, and the South East Wales local authorities they're really looking at emergency analysis of the existing routes against the money for the bus replacement. So it's so sensitive that we didn't feel that we had enough of a grip at this point in time to be able to discuss it in this forum. And with Hoovers, obviously we've been in negotiations for 18 months doing due diligence and in negotiations for purchase. That's taken a real tangent based on other commercial interests in the site, which are really commercially sensitive. That's why I pulled that one.
Thanks. I think any update you can provide, and I appreciate it may not be in this forum, will be welcomed by councillors, particularly on public transport. I appreciate it's a moving situation and it's a volatile one. But as I raised with you, Chair, I think it is something that will be useful to be scrutinised before the budget setting process kicks in, because if we're in a situation where funding from Welsh Government doesn't materialise, then I think we do need to be aware of what support we can provide at a local level. And then further to that, obviously on the Hoovers site, is a particular interest to me as a ward councillor as well. So any information that you can provide, I think, would be useful.
Yeah, I'm happy because obviously we could have discussed Hoovers with an exempt report, but obviously we've got to lay people on the scrutiny. I'm happy to have a small workshop with scrutiny outside the cycle to discuss.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll arrange that with Alan. I'll get some dates and we'll get back to you. Councillor George.
Yes, Chair. I mean, I welcome the fact that there's a proposal for more money coming into this authority. I entirely agree with Alan. It's a divisive way of doing so with one particular part of the county borough, even though part of my ward will be in that boundary. But I agree with Anna. I mean, if this comes off, it'll be an absolute miracle, because it was a political, purely 100% purely political announcement during the Tory conference, and it's tied up with the general election, the run-up to the general election. We're not going to get the money. That's one thing that we do know for certain, is you're not going to get the money until next September, which, in my opinion, will be in the middle of the campaign, because the general election would have had to be announced. It's going to be an October election, in my opinion. So we'll be in, the start of the political campaign for the next general election. If it happens, fine. But I got my grave doubts, Jay.
Thanks, Councillor Jones. Any more comments? Ian, Joe, you're welcome to leave. Thank you for attending.
Yes.
Okay. Item agenda 4, forward scrutiny work programme. I've asked Alan to stay. We've clarified the Hoovers and the bus report in the last questions. There's nothing else to add to that, is there, really? We'll organise a meeting away from you. But there is one thing I'd like to bring attention to. We've been asked if we can remove the housing and homelessness, or no, sorry, use the empty buildings in the Borough Council report in January due to sickness of staff. Alan?
Yeah, Paul Lewis, because obviously there were two elements to this, weren't there? There was empty buildings, which are non-domestic dwellings, and the big one was the empty homes. I got a problem at the moment with environmental health. The two principal managers, they both on long-term sick for different.
Okay, thank you. Would council tax, would they be able to just give us an update on, of the 600 homes and how many have come back into use?
Leave with me. I'll have a look at it.
Brilliant, thank you. Councillor Williams-Price.
Thanks. Hopefully we'll make progress on the forward work programme, but Councillor Simmons, can I ask, obviously beyond that, there'll also be casework that councillors have. I know it's something that I've been experiencing and will be affected by any capacity issues within the public protection team and the environmental health team. So can you ensure that there's an update sent to all councillors?
Of course, Councillor, that's
Thank
fine.
you.
Okay, any more questions on the forward work programme? No? No comments? No? Okay. Al, you're welcome to go if you want.
Lovely, thank you very much.
No problem at all. Kind guy, Okay, moving on, agenda item 6, report recommendations. Did we address the recommendations in each report, and did we add value? Sorry, I fibbed. Item agenda 5, scrutiny referrals, so that there are none. So we move back on. Agenda item 6, report recommendations. I guess we did as well, from my point of view, we did as well, answering questions on quite a vague report. Councillor Salmon.
Oh, sorry, Chair. Just in regards to scrutiny referrals, I do know it was brought up in neighbourhood services scrutiny about flight tip and littering and stuff like that. Obviously, we're going through a task and finish, which I'm a little bit behind on, but it's something I will send out to, I think, all councillors, to be honest, not just the ones on the task and finish group. If anyone wants to add anything into it. So I just sort of give an update there. Sorry, Chair.
Well, Councillor Jones.
Yes, on that very point, we discussed it in the Neighbourhood Services Scrutiny Committee yesterday. It's quite a discussion with it, because as you know, Chair, one department is doing one part of this, another department is doing another part, and it ain't working. We all know that. I know Councillor David Jones was going to have a discussion with officers, and I think he's going to speak to you, Chair, about it as well. But it is a matter how we do it, whether it's a joint meeting of the two scrutiny committees or what. But it's got to happen, because it's gone on and on for some time. And amongst this is the yearly, monthly, daily problem of removing fly tipping and litter on private land, which no one in this authority seems to be able to grapple with.
Yeah, I agree. It's a daily issue for me. And just sometimes thankful the land is owned by other people. But it did come across as a recommendation from us that fly tipping should sit within neighbourhood services. But it doesn't look like we've been listened to. But I do feel like a joint workshop scrutiny would be beneficial. Councillor Williams-Price.
Yeah, just to come in there, because we did discuss, I think, as part of the forward work programme setting for this cycle, to discuss whether it was feasible to have a joint task and finish group between the two committees. Because obviously that's one sticking point was fly tipping on private land and how it's dealt with, because that is the main issue that sits within the environmental health team. Is that something you've been able to make progress with, Councillor Salmon, on the neighbourhood services task and finish group?
this one I just mentioned to you a couple of minutes ago, that I'll get back to you and send it out to all councillors. I don't know if you misheard me or didn't hear me. And it's the one I asked all councillors to get involved in the beginning, but you, I think, pushed it back at one time. I can send you the email where you did.
That wasn't my understanding, but thank you, Councillor Salmon.
Okay. I'll pick that up with Councillor Salmon regarding the task and finish and get back to you. In terms of the report recommendations, is anybody, Councillor Salmon, or is you just a legacy? You're on. Yeah, sorry. So, Councillor Jones.
Yes, going back to the empty properties, and I didn't know that the both principal environmental health officers were both off at the same time. But nevertheless, we need to have that item discussed. And I know we've had an assurance that when we can, there'll be a report. But the sooner that comes back to this scrutiny committee, the better. So I think we need to be in contact with Alan Owen to find out and agree when it could come back, you know, rather than delay it for, I don't know, another 6 months, another 8 months. It needs to be discussed here.
Agreed. I did feel like the world was conspiring against me the last couple of weeks with reports being withdrawn left, right and centre, and reports that we really want to see here as well. So,
yeah.
Councillor Jones.
And on the point that Councillor Anna Williams-Price has raised, which was a good one, about being informed, and Councillor Simmons assured her that would take place. I've been corresponding with one of these principal officers, not knowing the person wasn't able to be there to answer the questions because it didn't come up. So that needs to happen. If somebody is off for whatever reason for any length of time, we need to be informed. Right. We need to be alerted so we can direct our queries to someone else.
I found out Friday, I think it was, that the one was off, and then I found out during this meeting the other one was off. Yeah. So I agree.
I didn't know the two were off.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Councillor Salmon.
Councillor Anna Williams-Price made a good point as well in regards to the buses. Can we get some sort of clarification when the officers might know what's happening, especially before the budget setting process? Because if Welsh Government don't get money from UK Government and there is that lack of money and then that doesn't come along to councils, I think we do really need to factor that into the budget setting process.
Yeah, I've got a couple of paragraphs from each report of Alan and Alan. I'll send that out as well. Okay. Yeah, but it's quite vague, to be honest. But we can maybe set some meetings up with him, with both of them on the two reports, and you can go into some more detail. Okay. Moving on. Agenda item 7, feedback on scrutiny activities, any outstanding actions. Councillor Salmon mentioned the task and finish group. 7.1 within there is information report around the feedback from the South Wales Police. Anybody got any comments or questions on that report? No? No? Okay. Agenda item 8, any other business deemed urgent by the chair? I have none. I'd just like to thank everyone for attending, and I'd like to bring this meeting to a close. Thank you very much.